Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ke Jam Vishpad Paramhamsa Prabhujakacharya Sotarasata Shishimade Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ke ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ke Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Sundravani Paschatya Desatarane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, how many devotees have reading material with the verse purport? One? You do? You? So it's only Ramapati and Mukunda. Can you sit a little closer to each other, please? I'm going to give you a book to share, yeah. Okay. We're getting to hear from srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 26. It's a new chapter. King Puranjan goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. Uh-oh. Let's see. Could we say the prayers to begin with, please? Om Jnana-timirandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosite Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nardavacha Sa ekada maheshwaso Ratam panchasam ashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenam panchabandhuram Narada uvacha Sa ekada maheshwaso Ratam panchasam ashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenam panchabandhuram Narada vacha Nardavacha Ratam panchasvamashugam Trivenam panchabandharam Nardavacha Ekada maheshwaso Ratam panchasamashugam Dvisham chakram ekaksham Trivenam panchabhanganam Nardavacha Ekada maheshwaso Ratam panchasamashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenam Ekaram shekadamanam ekanidam dvikakubaram panchapaharanam sapta varutam panchavikramam haimapakshkaram aruhya swarna vimaksha yeshubi yeshudi ekadasha chamunatha panchaprastam egadvanam Nardavacha Narda said Sa King Puranjan Ekada once upon a time Mahaishvasa, carrying his strong bow and arrows. Ratam, chariot. Pancha Ashvam, 5 horses. Ashugam, going very swiftly. Dviisham, 2 arrows. Dvichakram, 2 wheels. Eka, 1. Aksham, axle. 3. Venum, flags. Pancha, 5. Bandaram, obstacles. Next 2 verses I'll read. No response, please. Eka, 1. Rasmi, rope or rain. Eka, 1. Damanam, chariot driver. Eka, 1. Nidam, sitting place. Dvi, 2. Kubaram, post to which the harnesses are fixed. Pancha, 5. Paranam, weapons. Sapta, 7. Varutam, coverings or ingredients of the body. Pancha, 5. Vikramam, processes. Haima, golden. Upaskaram, ornaments. Aruya, riding on. Swarna, golden. Varma, armor. Akshaya, inexhaustible. Ishuddhi, quiver. Ekadasha, 11. Chamu, Nathaha, commanders. Pancha, 5. Prashtam, destinations or objectives. Agat, went. Vanam, to the forest. Guess you're okay. Translation. The great sage Narada continued, "My dear king, once upon a time King Puranjan took up his great bow and equipped with golden armor and a quiver of unlimited arrows, and accompanied by 11 commanders, he sat on his chariot, driven by 5 swift horses, and went to the forest named Panchaprastha. He took with him in that chariot 2 explosive arrows. The chariot itself was situated on 2 wheels and 1 revolving axle. On the chariot were 3 flags, 1 rein, 1 chariot driver, 1 sitting place, 2 poles to which the harness was fixed, 5 weapons, and 7 coverings. The chariot moved in 5 different styles, and 5 obstacles lay before it. All the decorations of the chariot were made of gold." Now, if we didn't have the purport by Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, would anybody have any idea what these 5 and 3 and unlimited and explosive and any clue? All right. Just now coming. We're going to do a little something different today. This is practically a 1, 2, 3 and a quarter page purport. So starting with the youngest, Bhakti Glenn, could you read the first paragraph of the purport? Use the microphone, please.
Translation. The great sage Narada...
No, the purport.
Purport. These 3 verses explain how the material body of the living entity is under the control of the 3 qualities of the external energy. The body itself is a chariot, and the living entity is the owner of the body. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 2, text 13, Dehenosmyani yata dehe. The owner of the body is called the Dehe, and he is situated within this body, specifically within the heart. The living entity...
Stop. Can you tell me what you just read? Don't look. Speak up.
The owner of the body is compared to the soul, and then the chariot is the body.
Anything else?
It's situated within the heart.
The it is? What's the it?
The soul.
And the first line was the body is influenced by, are controlled by the 3 qualities of material nature. So read a little bit slower the rest of the purport, please.
Okay. The living entity is driven by 1 chariot driver. The chariot itself is made of 3 gunas, 3 qualities of material nature, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yantra Rudani Mayaya. The word yantra means carriage. The body is given by material nature, and the driver of that body is Paramatma, the super soul. The living entity is seated within the chariot. This is the actual position.
Okay, who's the driver? Don't look.
The driver is the intelligence?
Beep.
Sorry.
Okay, who's not looking? Fuck Alex. The super soul. So who's the passenger? Yeah, that's not given in the lines you read, but that's obvious. Okay, so let's hand the mic to Bhakti Jamal, please. Thank you. So when you read, this is Srila Prabhupada talking to us. This is his devotional ecstasies, and that which he gleaned from the previous acharyas' commentaries also. This is really jam-packed. It's basically all philosophy here. So you have to really try to attentively read, which means hear. If you don't understand something, then reread it again. We want to, we're not just here to read, or when you're studying just to read to get your 40 pages a day done or what have you. You're trying to get the mercy where the knowledge will be revealed within the heart, so that that requires attentiveness and sincerity of purpose, or a lot of prayer. So, Bhakti Jamal?
The living entity is always being influenced by the three qualities: sattva, goodness; rajas, passion; and tamas, ignorance. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Trabir Gunamai Bhavai. The living entity is bewildered by the three qualities of material nature. These three qualities are described in this verse as three flags. By a flag, one can come to know who the owner of the chariot is. Similarly, by the influence of the three qualities of material nature, one can easily know the direction in which the chariot is moving. In other words, one who has eyes to see can understand how the body is being driven, influenced by the particular type of quality of material nature.
Did you know that the three flags are now what? What are they describing? Three modes of material nature. And one who has eyes, he can describe the living entity because of the flag he's flying in his chariot. Like, do you have any idea what symbol was on Lord Nityananda's flag? It's in Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's the palm tree. This is probably a little bit easier, and I'm asking the newer devotees.
And generally, when there's a flag, it's a chariot.
Yeah, on the chariot of Lord Nityananda. Lord Chaitanya had a dream where he said, last night I had a dream where a great personality came in a chariot, big giant chariot with a big flag, and on that flag was the emblem of the palm tree. And he went on to describe the transcendental beauty of Nityananda, his one earring, blue cloth, etc., etc. And he was asking, where's Nimai? Interestingly enough, in Hindi, because he had been hanging out in Braj for 12 years. Where's Nimai? Is this the home of Nimai Pandit? Where's Nimai? So that's the emblem of Nityananda on his chariot. How about Arjuna's flag? New devotees. Yeah! Who is it? No one could hear you.
Hanuman.
Yeah. So, go ahead and continue reading.
Sorry.
In other words,
one who has eyes to see can understand how the body is being driven, influenced by the particular type of quality of material nature. In these three verses, the activity of the living entity is described to prove how the body becomes influenced by the quality of ignorance, even when a person wants to be religious. Narada Muni wanted to prove to King Prachinabarhishat that the king was being influenced by the tamagun, the lower quality of ignorance, even though the king was supposed to be very religious.
all of us who had the experience of Srila Prabhupada looking at us, looking into our eyes, knows that he looked right to our soul. We had no doubt that we had nothing we could hide. He sized us up just in a moment. And from this paragraph, we can understand that those who have knowledge, minimum would be the Brahmabhuta platform, those on the spiritual platform and versed in the scripture, they can see the flag or they can see the body in what mode it's under, and because of the mode, then they can how would you say, understand what the activities of the living entity are, what his consciousness is, what the results of his activity, which means what kind of destination he's headed for, etc., etc. Srila Prabhupada certainly had that ability, and if we become versed in the scripture and the knowledge he's sharing with us, then we too can understand what modes influence us or influence others, and we can kind of like, it's not like become quote-unquote psychic. Just like the person who was on the limb, and he was sawing off the limb. Here's the tree trunk, and he's sitting on the limb, and he's sawing the limb. And a person came along and said, "Better stop, you're going to fall down." Well, sure enough, the branch broke, and he fell down. He said, "Man, you must be psychic. How'd you know that?" So this transcendental knowledge helps us understand what influence is there in our life, on our consciousness, and in others. So do you mind letting, who's next? Boom, boom, boom. Would that be Alex? Thank you.
According to Karma Kandya, the process of fruitive activities, a person performs various sacrifices directed by the Vedas. And in all those sacrifices, animal killing or experimenting on the life of animals to test the power of Vedic mantras is enjoined. Animal killing is certainly conducted under the influence of the mode of ignorance. Even though one may be religiously inclined, animal sacrifice is recommended in the Shastras, not only in the Vedas, but even in the modern scriptures of other sects.
It's interesting to note he's saying modern scriptures, the Bible, the Quran, they're just a few thousand years old. This is eternal knowledge. srimadbhagavatam ki.
These animal sacrifices are recommended in the name of religion, but actually animal sacrifice is meant for persons in the mode of ignorance. When such people kill animals, they can at least do so in the name of religion. However, when the religious system is transcendental, like the Vaishnava religion, there is no place for animal sacrifice. Such a transcendental religious system is recommended by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear.
Stop, please. So it's pretty amazing that the Vedic scriptures sanction animal killing. You want to eat animals, there's a way to do it in which you get the least reaction. There's reaction because it's activity in the mode of ignorance. But Krishna is so kind that he's given an ocean of directions, instructions, where even if you're way down on the bottom of the ladder in the evolution or growth of the soul towards the Lord, there's a way in which you can become purified. When you sacrifice cutting that animal's throat on the altar to Goddess Kali, and you chant into the animal's ear, "This life I'm killing you, but in the next life you can kill me," it might kind of sink in at some point that, holy smokes, this isn't the best activity to engage in. There are consequences to my wanting to enjoy this meat that I'm going to take from the flesh of the body of the animal. The conditioned soul that you're killing, the body of the conditioned soul. So there are consequences. Jiva Goswami says that Scripture is Scripture, and all the Vedas come from they're emanating from the breath of the Lord. But he specifically says that doesn't mean that all Scripture applies to everybody. And he goes on to say, for the Vaishnavas, we're not interested in any of the, nice Traigunya, Krishna tells Arjuna that the Vedas mainly deal with... Yeah, please. Most of the Vedas, they deal with directions for those who are heavily in the modes of nature. And he's recommending Arjuna, but don't get absorbed in those. Don't follow those. You're meant to surrender to me, and to me only. And that's what the advice of all the Vaishnavas, receive in disciplic succession. Just because it's in Scripture Don't go pulling it out, try and justify your sense gratification. We're aspiring for coming to the level of the Bhagavad Dharma, where there isn't violence committed to anybody. Certainly there isn't meat-eating sanctioned. And, we want to engage minimally in activities of sattva gun. We want to come to the platform of Brahmins. We want to act, at least trained like a twice-born. Whatever our nature may be, we can be trained by the mercy of the Lord, the spiritual master, and the Shastras. So we want to follow the Vaishnava Dharma as it is. And if we do that, taking advantage of that, then all the cheating propensities that are within us will be choked out. Because in the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Dharma, transcendental devotional service, there is no cheating allowed. It's just unalloyed service offered to the Lord for His pleasure. That's what we're aspiring for. That's the meaning of this verse of, abandon all varieties of religion. So many varieties. Just surrender to me. Has nothing to do with sectarianism. It has nothing to do with the body. It's the eternal, the Jaiva Dharma, the eternal nature and activity of the living entity. So, next, because
King Prachini Barishat was engaged in performing various sacrifices in which animals were killed, Narada Muni pointed out that such sacrifices are influenced by the mode of ignorance. From the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Projata Kaitavotra. All kinds of religious systems that are involved in cheating are completely kicked out of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Dharma, the religion dealing with one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, animal sacrifice is not recommended. In the performance of Sankirtana Yajna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no recommendation for animal sacrifices.
Mukunda.
In these 3 verses, King Puranjana's going to the forest to kill animals is symbolic of the living entities being driven by the mode of ignorance, and thus engaging in different activities for sense gratification. The material body itself indicates that the living entity is already influenced by the 3 modes of material nature, and that he is driven to enjoy material resources. When the body is influenced by the mode of ignorance, its infection becomes very acute. When it is influenced by the mode of passion, the infection is at the symptomatic stage. However, when the body is influenced by the mode of goodness, the materialistic infection becomes purified. The ritualistic ceremonies recommended in religious systems are certainly on the platform of goodness. But because within this material world, even the mode of goodness is sometimes polluted by the other qualities, namely passion and ignorance, a man in goodness is sometimes driven by the influence of ignorance.
So what are the modes of material nature compared to?
The flags?
This is for Mukunda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to think of the flags.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of.
You weren't listening then. That's one reason why I was hoping everybody could take a turn to read, because 3 pages, I'm going to put you to sleep if I'm just reading. But when you have home programs, or right this morning, the exception of the norm, if you know your turn's coming up, hopefully you're listening, because you never know when Rajendranandana is going to call me, asking me what was just read, what to speak if you're reading it. But the modes of material nature, so we won't reread it for time's sake, but the modes are compared to infections.
Oh, yeah.
Now it clicks. Go ahead and describe them.
That when one is grossly infected and they're in the mode of ignorance, when it's
That's really
acute.
bad. That's
Yeah,
where we're
acute
all dropping
sickness.
like flies and no one's worshiping the deities. Okay?
And then it's in the symptomatic stage when it's just the mode of passion.
What does that mean, symptomatic stage?
It can be cured more easily.
Okay.
It's showing some symptoms, but it's not deeply.
Yeah. Hasn't
infected.
reached the bottom of the lungs, gluing them up or nothing like that. There's hope.
Mhm. And the mode of goodness, then it's there's purification going on. There's healing going on.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see. As long as you have a material body, then it's understood the modes are influencing it. In the Uddhava Gita, Krishna says there's nothing within the entire universe that isn't infected or influenced by the different modes. As Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say, from the tiniest little ant to Lord Brahma, all are influenced by the modes of material nature. Having a body in it of itself shows that we are diseased, that we, are envious. We had the desire, the envy at the root brought us here to this material world, and that hopefully we're in the recovery process. Obviously you are in practicing Krishna consciousness in this wonderful movement, Krishna consciousness movement. We're in the recovery stage. We're in the hospital. But we should be aware that the modes can crop up at any time. The least little inattentiveness. There's an example Srila Prabhupada gives when shaving. If you're just a little inattentive, well, now they have the razors where, it's kind of hard to cut yourself. But when I was a kid, my father used a straight edge. And the barbers in India still do, and just a little inattentive, and then you're bleeding. So in Krishna consciousness, if we don't follow the process as it's given, anytime you are not engaged in Krishna service, then just take it for granted. You're engaging in Maya's service. It's one of the two. The lights are on or they're off. And for us, aspiring devotees who are still diseased, influenced by the infection, then we have to be very submissive to the instructions given by the spiritual master, by Srila Prabhupada and his representatives. And it's not easy, because possession of material body means we have a false ego. The false ego, like you probably all saw my face when Maharaj kind of like, hey, work with me here this morning. It's like, okay, it was time to get humble, bury my, wait a minute. The example is sufficient. Krishna's mercy is manifest in that way. In Krishna consciousness, if we're properly situated and in good association, there will be many a time when Krishna will point out our shortcomings. The fact that we have any problem taking any instructions from our authorities really means we're pretty puffed up. Arrogance is a deep disease, deep-rooted disease, and arrogance is in the mode of ignorance. Even when we're doing devotional service. So, this is Krishna's mercy when he points out that, oh, thank you, Lord. I thought it was kind of cruising there. Thought I was getting some momentum. And then he shows, no, you have work to do. So, I wanted just to make the point on this paragraph that anyone who has a material body is influenced by the modes of material nature. And of course, the exception is unless you're engaged in unalloyed, pure devotional service of the Lord. 24/7. Then it's not an issue anymore. You read your paragraph. I think that it might be Balaram's turn. It is herein described.
Okay.
Here, take this. Please.
It is herein described that King Puranjan once went to the forest to kill animals. This means that he, the living entity, came under the influence of the mode of ignorance. The forest in which King Puranjan engaged in hunting was named Pancha Prastha. The word Pancha means 5, and this indicates the objects of the 5 senses. The body has 5 working senses, namely the hands, the legs, the tongue, the rectum, and the genitals. By taking full advantage of these working senses, the body enjoys material life. The chariot is driven by 5 horses, which represent the 5 sense organs, namely the eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. These sense organs are very easily attracted by the sense objects.
And what kind of senses would you call those? The other 5 were the working senses.
The other...
Knowledge acquiring senses.
Yeah.
Sense organs.
These sense organs are very easily attracted by the sense objects. Consequently, the horses are described as moving swiftly.
You see what you like? I can't run to it. Let's just use Prasadam. It's a dovetailed example. Speaking personally, I wish I was on the transcendental platform where I was honoring Krishna at every morsel. But I enjoy Prasadam, and that's purifying. And when the Prasadam's laid out, there's some devotees you better watch out because they're running to the front of the line and they're grabbing what they want. Sometimes even not caring that somebody else isn't here. And, sorry. It's good Prasadam. I wish you'd gotten here in time. But anyway, swift horses, because you run to get that which you like, and the things you don't like, well, it's like turn around and run the other way. And we might as well use pertinent examples for us. Devotional service. Oh, can anybody do this? Sometimes Maharaj will ask somebody, well, is there anybody who would like to do that? And so, I think of in the army, they're lined up. Would someone step forward, please? So everybody steps backwards. And then you realize, oh my God. In other words, sometimes we're not that spontaneous or enthusiastic to take up services because we're still influenced by this separatist mentality. Krishna is my order carrier. I'm here to basically have a comfortable life and to enjoy, not to surrender heart and soul to the Sankirtan movement. So, Balaram, swiftly moving.
On the chariot, King Puranjan kept 2 explosive weapons.
Here you go, Dravida.
Okay.
Which may be compared to a ahankar, or false ego. This false ego is typified. Is it typified?
You got it.
Whoops, uh-oh. This, I don't know how to bring it back. Sorry.
It's all right.
That's the nature of these.
Constantly changing.
Not enough heat.
Give him the book, and why don't you let the owner of the phone use the phone? We can pass the book around.
All right. Which may be compared to hunger or false ego. This false ego is typified by 2 attitudes. I am this body.
Boom!
Ahanta. And everything in my body relationships belongs to me.
Boom!
Mamata.
Okay. That's your paragraph. So what is the explosive weapons? What are the explosive weapons? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we always hear, hum mamati, but here Prabhupada's saying, hanta, I'm the body, and everything belongs to me, mamata. So I think it is Ramapati Prabhu's turn. Run! Don't walk. 2 wheels of the chariot.
Okay. The 2 wheels of the chariot may be compared to the 2 moving facilities, namely sinful life and religious life. The chariot is decorated with 3 flags, which represent the 3 modes of material nature. The 5 kinds of obstacles or uneven roads represent the 5 kinds of air passing in the body. These are prana, apana, udana, samana, and dhyana. The body itself is covered by 7 coverings, namely skin, muscle, fat, blood, marrow, bone, and semen. The living entity is covered by 3 subtle material elements and 5 gross material elements. These are actually obstacles placed before the living entity on the path of liberation from material bondage.
Thank you. So yeah, the body, whether it's gross or subtle, it's made of the 5 gross and 3 subtle material elements. They're anartha. They're anartha. They're not wanted. They're not necessary. We don't belong in this material world. And everything we're hearing in this wonderful allegory, is that what you call it? Is basically neti neti. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm not the desires that I have built up within my heart and consciousness. I'm not the voice I hear in my head, the mind. I'm not the body, however handsome, strong, intelligent, etc. it may be. Or even, this is interesting, the two wheels of the chariot, sinful life and religious life. We're not that either. Everything that we've been hearing about basically is bad. It's unwanted. Even the religious life, it's unwanted. Because if you simply engage in religiosity, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, dharma, religiosity, and you're taking the Lord as an order supplier, then He'll fulfill your desires. He'll reward your pious deeds of recognizing His supremacy, but you won't get out of the material world. You certainly won't be allowed, you don't qualify to enter into His family and village, His associates and servants. There has to be love. That's the qualification to, that's the ticket, price of the ticket to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Gokula, you can have the mercy of the spiritual master and develop it there. But Goloka, definitely prema bhakti. So it's all bad. Wet stool, dry stool, sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say. And we're speaking on the absolute platform. As devotees, we do have to deal with the bodies, with the desires, and we have to do our best to dovetail them or surrender them completely, depending how fortunate we are in focusing our desire at the feet of the spiritual master in his service, how determined we are. Then this will help us to what degree we are getting the essence, the nectar of what the process of Krishna consciousness is. Because in the beginning it tastes like poison. Austerities. Really getting up 4:30 in the morning, chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regulated principles, this is like the least that the disciplic succession is asking of us, that the spiritual master is asking of us. Forgive me. Attending Mangal Artik at 4:30. It all just goes deeper and deeper. Oh, I should be clean before I come. I should actually have clean, clear consciousness, meaning I should be awake and ready to, in proper consciousness. I'm in the presence of the Lord. Because we're influenced by the description Narada Muni's giving. I think I am this body. I think I am my mind. I still identify with desires that come up. And if weak or not focused, submit to or surrender to desires that are not favorable to devotional service. And as long as we're doing that, then the Radhagiridhari will remain as stone. They will not reveal themselves to us. As long as we think we're the body, they'll remain stone. But when you realize that you're spirit soul, that's when you realize that's Srimati Radharani and that's Krishna. I mean, look at them. Doesn't Giridhari, especially today, look like the transcendental autocrat? And look at him, please. Simply playing his flute, engaging in transcendental pastimes of Srimati Radharani and inviting us to come along. We just have to appreciate what's being offered and be willing to pay the price. In relationship to the 5 kinds of errors, which are obstacles in the road, that's interesting. We don't discuss that very much in Krishna consciousness. It's more in terms of Ashtanga yoga. I mean, it's just like, does anyone here know the different types of airs? Like, what's a belch? You know what air that is? And we certainly don't know breaking wind, I guess I could say. But we have these different winds. In the soul, it's understood the consciousness is floating on the life airs. And in Ashtanga yoga, that's one of the important parts they focus on. And Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely in several places, but when we execute Krishna consciousness enthusiastically, the way it's supposed to be, then we get all the benefits of the yoga. the exercise, if we dance. It's so nice. The ashram is in a dancing mood these days. It's very enlivening, isn't it? It beats the heck out of the old planted tree program. I got my spot. Don't bother me. And it's always comical. You know, talking about the flags and reading the insignia on the flag. Sometimes we aren't aware how people can just look right through me when I'm in Maya. If I'm standing there like a planted tree, everybody else is running up and down. Well, let me go to the closest to the deities as I can. I'm absorbed in samadhi. I just want to see the deities. Yeah. No, your mind has come up with some kind of line that I don't want to join the Sangha, the purification that's taking place with all the devotees. Look, it's not like we're asking you to be in ecstasy. Srila Prabhupada actually encouraged that when we practice these things, like this will simplify it to one-liner, when you move your feet, your mind will follow. It is amazing. And it's also like the mridanga playing. It's not like, I or some of us are dancing in transcendental ecstasy, bhava from hearing the holy names of the Lord. That's the pure unalloyed Vaishnav. They hear the name and they run to it. Their heart is gladdened and they dance. But if Prabhupada said, act as if you were enthusiastic. In other words, if everybody else is dancing, go ahead. What's the harm? Let me try and dance too. And before you know it, you've forgotten that mind that was just trying to put the anchor down and hold me down in bodily consciousness. Even if you simply do the Swami step, it helps to get off the bodily platform. But even when I don't feel it, if you, another one-liner, fake it. And we're not trying to impress anybody. That's not what I mean by faking it. But join along. Or even if you had to be the first person to do it, if you light the match, sooner or later something's going to catch. And then it's contagious. Because we're all wanting to chant and dance with the Gaura Nitai. Once again, in our bodily consciousness, we're not appreciating their dancing in ecstasy. They're so thrilled to hear the kirtan. I mean, laughing at us malechas having taken to the Yuga Dharma of Sankirtan and chanting and dancing. Oh man, what a thrill. Lord Nityananda is like, they're serving my Lord. They're in ecstasy. And if we just contribute. So I was going to say about the life heirs, we get the benefit in bhakti, everything. And this is not something that I know from Shastra, but practical experience. I'll just share with you. There's different ways you can chant and breathe while chanting. Like I've had devotees try and give me advice like, hey, you want your rounds to be a little quicker? There's a way in which you can chant and you just keep on chanting and you inhale, exhale while chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm not trying to chant fast. That's not where I'm at. That's not my goal. I want to hear the names. I want to serve the names. I want to enter into the mood, a prayerful mood of getting the mercy of the names. And I've found that when I chant, the length of my breath and then taking a deep diaphragm breath, actually I've seen before and after the difference between shallow breathing and deep breathing in chanting japa. My mind is clearer. And I think there's a semblance of that, in yoga where they, before or during they're doing their exercise, they focus on breathing because they're trying to attain some kind of mental peace, some type of equanimity, if there's any semblance of yoga to it. And the breathing, deep breathing helps. So I'm just passing that along in terms of this thought about the 5 heirs. Enjoy your, hope it's a Krishna conscious Skype, my friend. Thank you. So, and then the 7 layers, the skin, and what else we got here? It's so scientific. Muscle, fat, blood, marrow, bone, and semen. It just comes to mind that, we just think, we see the skin when that's, and we just, in bodily consciousness, we just kind of take it as that. We're not medical doctors, we're not physicians or this or that, so we don't really think. Like they often, they see somebody, like there was a Jai Govinda Charan in Mayapur, a really good healer. He could adjust bones and muscles, deep adjustment of muscles, where the muscles would hold the bones in place. Things that had been out for years. Really really a wonderful healer, empowered by Krishna. But he told me, when I look at bodies, I don't see this. He sees what's inside the body. It's like, he said, it's almost like X-ray, because he really does have this a real nice sensitivity to what's out. He knows where it's supposed to be and when it's out, and et cetera, and how far down to go. But anyway, my point was that these layers, the body's an incredible miracle. It's so complex. In modern technology, we heard a verse in this morning, how applicable it was, even though it was 60 years old. You remember the verse? Modern technology, modern industrialization is simply wringing out the human spirit. It's demoniac, it's not civilization, it's the opposite of civilization. Civilization is what we're doing right now. Bhagavat Dharma, engaging in service to Krishna, playing our part in society to please the Lord. So this technology, everybody, it's all about, it's sold as it for the comfort, the pleasure comfort, the enjoyment, the convenience. But like the 5G's the thing that they push now, and it's being set up, and thank goodness, from what I understand, there's good 5G and there's bad 5G. But the bad 5G, actually, anybody should be able to accept this, because they know from studies, anyone who lives under the big, there's certain places, certain neighborhoods, you might be pretty close to the power thing where they have those big giant wires going over your head. Like a power plant. Or, like when you open up that door of the closet, you hear that buzz? You know what I'm talking about? It's a loud buzz. That's the electromagnetic energy in there. That energy's not good for the body. It's like, or, x-rays. There's a reason why the doctor stands behind iron while you go and get the x-ray, because that x-ray it causes cancer. The power plant and living next to it causes cancer. This is documented science, medical science. So in the same way, these things which we've all become attached to, like our little deities we carry in our pouch around our neck, we're inseparable from them. But unless you have the technology that is disrupting the harmful electromagnetic waves, we're cooking ourselves. We're just cultivating cancer. The body, although it's complex and miraculous, it is delicate. And X-rays hurt it, microwaves hurt it, the constant bombardment, it has its effect. And the body ultimately is energy, and that electromagnetic energy affects adversely the energy of the body. That's why no one can do yoga now. I've heard Atma Tattva Prabhu give a class where it's a joke. Unless you're up in the Himalayas, far beyond all this ruckus of modern civilization, even the air we breathe disqualifies us, because it's not a clean body or pure consciousness. So that yoga's out. It's the chanting of Hare Krishna. That's our saving grace offered to us by Guru and Guranga. So the gross elements, subtle elements, they're all obstacles on the path of liberation for the living entity. And I believe that it's your turn, Vijay Prabhu. The word Rashmi.
The word Rashmi, rope, in this verse indicates the mind. The word Nida is also significant, for Nida indicates the nest where a bird takes rest. In this case, Nida is the heart, where the living entity is situated. The living entity sits in one place only. The causes of his bondage are two, namely lamentation and delusion. In material existence, the living entity simply hankers to get something he can never get. Therefore, he is an illusion. As a result of being in this illusory situation, the living entity is always lamenting. Thus, lamentation and illusion are described herein as Dvikubhara, the two posts of bondage.
So this is the program in material consciousness. I like and I don't like. I hanker and I lament. The duality. In Krishna consciousness, that's not there. It's all desire for the pleasure of Krishna, what he likes and what he doesn't like. It's cool how Srila Prabhupada, he didn't say lamentation and hankering, lamentation and illusion. If we're desiring something separate from the service of the Lord, then we're definitely in illusion. And, it behooves us to wake up and get out of the fog of illusion, the diseased state of illusion. And as I shared with, I think it was Mukunda Charan Prabhu, that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that to the degree that we are thinking in terms of I like and I don't like, that's the corresponding distance between us and Krishna. To the degree we cultivate desires for the comfort, pleasure, sense gratification of the body and mind outside of service to Krishna, then we're just getting farther away from Krishna. Something that we don't want to do. How are we coming along? I'll read this paragraph. The living entity carries out various desires through 5 different processes, which indicate the working of the 5 working senses. The golden ornaments and dress indicate that the living entity is influenced by the quality of Rajagun, passion. One who has a good deal of money or riches is especially driven by the mode of passion. Being influenced by the mode of passion, one desires so many things for enjoyment in this material world. And the 10th offense is to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and maintain material attachments. Even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. When you sit in Srimad Bhagavatam day after day, unless you really put up your walls and tune it out, we're faced with what is expected of us. If we want to get out what's being offered, we get as much out of devotional service or out of the Bhagavatam class as much as we put into it. In fact, we get so much more, whatever effort we make to please Guru and Krishna, so much more. But, it's saying here the gold represents Rajagun, and one who is attracted to the profits, to the money, they're predominantly in the mode of passion. That's if they're lucky. In Kali Yuga, anybody who has money becomes degraded very quickly. They don't stay in the mode of passion, they degrade further and further into the mode of ignorance. Because you realize the money, the fame, the position, all the things that everybody runs so hard to try to accumulate and experience, it doesn't fill the hole in the heart. Doesn't feel that lacking, that longing. You're not happy. So you try harder and harder. And in sense gratification, the harder you try, the more degraded you become. And in Kali Yuga, the facility is all-pervasive to get into very degraded acts of sense gratification. So the money, gold, is it's the 5th place that Kali hides. And so devotees are not to be concerned about this. As I told Bhakti Jamal Prabhu, that what we're destined to accumulate in this life, it's already written on the palm and on the forehead, etc. Despite whatever activities you engage in, you're not going to get a nickel more or a nickel less than what you're destined in this life. You just get to choose how it will manifest. What do you want to do? When do you want to do it? Doesn't mean your desires will be fulfilled. Man proposes, God disposes. You might not get the money you want right now. Like some people, they're at the fag end of life and then they win that lottery. Woohoo! Like, what good does it do them? But they didn't deserve better, but they got to have it just for that short time. There's that mental, I got it, but it doesn't fill the hole. So anyway, where are we? The 11 commanders? Being influenced by the mode of passion, one desires so many things for enjoyment in this material world. The 11 commanders, he went out hunting with 11 commanders, represent the 10 senses in the mind. The mind is always making plans with the 10 commanders to enjoy the material world. So that's it. It's our enemy until we've sufficiently trained it, cleaned, brainwashed, taken it out and washed it with cow dung, antiseptically scrubbed it, and reprogram it in devotional service, then it can be our friend, and it'll quit making plans for sense gratification of enjoying the world. Instead, it will be used in how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to practice Krishna consciousness. The forest named Panchaprastha, where the king went to hunt, is the forest of the 5 sense objects: form, taste, sound, smell, and touch. Thus, in these 3 verses, Narada Muni describes the position of the material body and the engagement of the living entity within it. So he's described it. That's what we find ourselves in, the mess. This is another fine mess you've gotten me into. It's a famous line. But we can't blame anybody. We signed up for it, life after life after life, and now we're signing up in the Sankirtan army, training in the brahmachari ashram. And it's meant to be a mood of love and friendship in the ashram, simultaneously the thunderbolt strictness. Like there should be no exceptions. Should be no exceptions from the program. The minimum standard we have here is a morning program. Do you Prabhus go to an evening program? Do you congregate and have an evening program? Everybody attends? Mostly. That's fantastic. So many temples have that one piece of bread on the sandwich and that's it. But if you're doing the morning and evening program, this process works, guaranteed. Put your heart into it, you'll go to bed dreaming of Krishna, of devotees, of service. If you do it morning and evening, and in between fill it with your services, of course, having chanted good rounds. But Prabhupada, let me read this one thing and I'll wrap it up. I won't read, okay. Srila Prabhupada was questioned on the idea that some teachers had that it was inappropriate to force the students to participate in devotional activities. Srila Prabhupada then presented the other side of the love-force discussion. He had already presented that we should be cultivating love within each other's association, bringing out the best of each other because we care. If you know I care, or I know you care, I'm going to be very receptive to your influence and your help, your advice, etc. So he's established love. Now he's coming back to the strictness. So is it appropriate to force them to go out to the Mongol Arctic, to chant japa in Brahma Muhurta, greeting the deities, Guru Puja? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, that should be done. Teachers must do it. And the students must also do it. Chanaka Pandit said, I'll answer it, who loves unnecessarily, making them stupid? That is not good. If you become lenient, then there will be many faults. More Sanskrit. And if you strictly induce them forcibly to be disciplined, that's very nice. That is how good qualities developed. Then he chants the whole Sanskrit sloka of Chanaka. Therefore, either to sons or the disciples, students, they should always be strictly forced. Don't be lenient. Why should we be lenient? That's not good. They're, after all, child. Now, you're grown men, but you're in the brahmachari ashram. You signed up for the program. Hopefully, you remain fixed in the desire that brought you here. And I'll reword that, because you came because you were probably in distress. I mean, there's 4 types of material motives to take to Krishna consciousness, and with the process of Krishna consciousness, purification takes place to some point along the line. You give up that. You don't worry about it. I'm happy. I'm peaceful. Life's good. So, but you are young in devotional service. I mean, Vijay Prabhu yesterday said, sometimes we get stuck in many lifetimes. So if we look at it from the big picture like that, even I've been around, the 47, 8 years, I could still be a child in the big scheme of things. So children are meant to be, up until the age of 16, they're meant to be strictly guided for their good. If you become lenient just because they're children, they will think this is the practice. It's okay to miss a bunch of Mongol Arctiques. No, you must get up. That is discipline. Yes. Why should you be lenient? That's your fault. meaning our fault. We don't have temple commanders. We're supposed to be at least saying out of love what the program is. And it's voluntary. Whatever you want to whatever degree you want to follow, no one's going to put a gun to your head. That's there. It's a very lenient program here in a sense. But you must get up. That's discipline. Why should you be lenient? That's your fault. But out of love, we shall see our sons or disciples go to hell. That is not good. That is foolishness. Now, I don't mean this is where Subhag Swami would say, please don't mind. I'm simply repeating the words of Srila Prabhupada. But this is the medicine that we come to drink every day through the ears in Srimad Bhagavatam. We have a golden opportunity, and we should have association. You know, it's always advised to have more advanced association if at all possible, because they will always be lovingly trying to help you manifest more of the potential within you. The ideal being your full potential. You know, when we say, and quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prem. We should always be thinking like that. No, hope against hope. What chance do I have? But no. Don't think that this chanting, dancing, and feasting will not bring you the desired result. That's the desired result. Krishna Prem. Don't think like that. Every step we take, Krishna's taking 10. He's running towards us. Guru is just waiting to give us the pure mercy so the seed can fructify, bearing the fruit of love. If we think like this, hope against hope every day, just a little more watering, a little more cultivation of the garden, pulling the weeds out today, keeping it surrounded by the fence of good association. If we do like this, the future is very bright, so bright. All desires are fulfilled at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And those desires will transform into the desires of the soul, what we really want, which is lovingly reciprocating with Krishna and back at us. Any comments or questions? Boom! I fall at your feet and offer my obeisances. Vanchakopatrubhyascha kripasindhubhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.